we're going to change the process of pitching a little bit in terms of what we ask the founders to do.
Yeah, just aiming to get more value out of that time that they're giving us and set a little benchmark for how we can kick things off into those pitch calls.
Yeah, so let me share my screen. So this is just for the first pitch call, pitch Zoom, pitch meeting, however it plays out. Here's what our process is. You register tribeglobal.vc. Who are we seeking? It's Australian and New Zealand B2B focused tech companies that have US and or the UK on their roadmap. The first pitch, the invite is for 45 minutes. And what we do is we break that up into two phases. The first page is a 3 to 5 minute pitch sequence, and that's what we're about to go through now. Then the second phase is the conversation phase. That's the remaining time, the 40 to 42 minutes. After that pitch, we have a discussion as a team. Because we've been on your side before, raising money as founders, we know how distractionary it can be. So we pride ourselves on either a fast no because it may not be within our mandate, or we follow up with some further questions for discussion. So what are the challenges? Look, the challenges we often face when being pitched is that we're coming in cold. We don't have as much experience and knowledge in the space as you do. And we also don't know the specific lingo quite often. Added to that, we see a lot of opportunities. Anybody that you're pitching in the professional investing space is going to see lots and lots of opportunities. And there's that old saying, if you confuse, you lose.
I think that the point of this is just to really make the most of our time together in that call, not waste the founder's time, and make sure we're getting clarity on what you're doing and then lead into a deeper conversation.
So this 3 to 5 minute pitch, I already know some are saying, what? There's no way we could do it within that. So what are we asking? Here's the sequence. What is your market/sector? Who is your ideal client profile? What's the problem that they have and that you solve? What's your product, your solution? How do you find leads and then convert them? What's the size of this market? Why are you backable? How did you come to find this? What is your traction and results so far? How much money are you seeking? And what are you going to do with that money? That's the flow, the framework.
It seems like a lot in 3 to 5 minutes, but just that sharp, punchy, very clear statements of each will help us get so much clarity to then inform the conversation afterwards.
But why? One of the things we find, just as a pattern, that the ability to communicate simply is actually a precursor to success. We do come across a lot of interesting opportunities that are very complex, that people can't explain them simply. It gets confusing after a while. So what we're trying to understand is, can this opportunity be communicated really simply? It also gives us time to digest and build an understanding layer by layer. Because the time is so short, say 45 minutes, there's a feeling that we have to drink from the fire hose. We have to get all the information out. And we also want to be respectful of your time if it's not within the mandate. So we'll be able to learn that quite quickly. What's important to understand is the first pitch to anyone is not actually to get money. It's to get interest. I don't know of any investor that after the first pitch just wrote a check. And if they did, you're probably going to be a little bit careful. So the first pitch is actually about building interest. It's about building relationship. It's about building rapport. It's about building understanding. Now, I'm going to go into a little bit more detail here, but just remember that all models are wrong. We think some are useful. So we're not advocating that this has to be taken up by anyone else or that you have to do this anywhere else. We just think for us, it is useful, but take it with a grain of salt elsewhere.
And for us as well, this is just the format for our first call. And if there is a fit in our thesis and we end up on subsequent calls, those are much more fluid and dynamic. But for the first call, this structure will really be the best use of time to get us to a common level of understanding so that we can gauge interest and go deeper.
Absolutely. So let's do a little bit of example. Let's pretend for the meantime that Elon is pitching in the early days for some money for SpaceX.
So when you get to know Don, it'll come as no surprise that he's chosen Elon as someone to pick on with a bit of a tongue-in-cheek example to step through.
No, what are you saying? So let's have a look here. Could SpaceX be done in 3 to 5 minutes? I think it could actually be done in less than that. So under this model, we just start with, what's the sector? We build rockets so we can put various objects into space cheaply. Who's the ideal client profile? It's the launch officer inside telecom and defense department/companies. What's the problem? It costs a lot of money for people to put stuff into space. The biggest cost is the rocket, which currently is a single-use vehicle because it crashes back into the ocean. It's wasteful. So what we're doing, the product, we're going to build reusable rockets. This will reduce the cost of putting stuff into space from 100 million to 1 million, a 99% saving. How do we find leads? We go around to everyone that's already putting stuff into space and ask them if they want to save 99% on cost. They like this. It costs us $2,750 per lead to find a customer. The size of the market, we believe there are 22,800 launches required each year. So at $1 million a launch, that gives a total addressable market of around 22.8 billion. Why do we think we're backable? I read a physics book and called myself an engineer. I also took over someone else's company, forced them out, said I founded it, and then sell products that don't exist and get away with it. This means I'm your guy to get this done and will do everything required, legal or ethical or not, to get a return.
That's not proposed wording for your exact pitch though, founders.
Traction and results so far. We have built 3 of these so far that are already being used. We have 10 million in revenue already, and we've signed 2 billion of future customers who want to send stuff up into space. We're seeking $5 billion investment and a $25 billion pre-money valuation. And with that money, we're going to build out the factory, build 11 new rockets to get us to 5 billion in revenue. So that's the 3 to 5 minute pitch on SpaceX.
And it took less than 3 minutes. I was timing.
You were timing. Excellent. Now, what are we going to do with the other 42 minutes? What we'll then be able to do is enter a conversation to peel the layers because we went a mile wide and an inch deep.
Yeah.
Now we can start to peel, right? We can start to build our understanding. We can start to pull on some threads. And of course, the deck can be used to go into deeper detail, so you can still have the deck that you submitted. But what we're trying to do is get a two-way interaction. We're trying to build rapport, a relationship, and really get a deep understanding.
Yeah, and you can also assume that the deck you've sent through as part of your application has been read and that we're across those details. But that 3 to 5 minutes is just so critical in framing the next 42 minutes to make them so much more valuable.
And so if you're one of those B2B founders from Australia and New Zealand, we would absolutely love to hear from you.